What's up, guys? Jay Lee here, Northwest Podcast. Hope y'all are staying cool. It's super hot out, man. The earth is boiling. But anyway, hope y'all are doing well. And today I wanted to talk about 4 compelling reasons for any man to stay single. Yes, this is spoken to men, not to women, not to couples, but to men. 4 compelling reasons for men to stay single. Don't get married, right? That's the argument here. Now, I would, ideally, if every man found the love of his life at a young age, which would be ideal, and got married, fell in love, and it was all fine, like Storybook used to tell us, back in the blue pill days, that would be nice. So I'm not so cynical that I'm saying it can't happen. I'm not so negative that I hope that it wouldn't happen for all men. I hope that it would. I'm for traditional morals, traditional family values, but I also have to be real and kind of cut short the idealism and say, hey, you know what? This is the real world. What's really going on? What is really happening out there? How are men really being treated? What is marriage really like? What does the love landscape really look like? So I have to be realistic, I used to be idealistic in my blue pill days, and then after a series of unfortunate events, I became more and more realistic, and I got into realism. Well, what's the real truth? What's really going on? And, excuse me, and along with that, you might say a little bit of cynicism comes. You might say a little bit of negativity comes, or maybe a lot of it. If there's a lot of negativity out there and that's what you're experiencing and that's what you're seeing, that's what the facts say, then you have to be true and realistic to that. And you have to adhere to that, right? So with that said, let's get into these 4 compelling reasons for men, modern men in the modern world to stay single. Number 1, modern women's standards are too high. Now, if you're into the red pill, you know all about this. You know all about all these reasons, right? But you might not. Sometimes it's good to have a refresher course. Sometimes it's good to, delve into, hey, this is really going on. This is what's really happening. Modern women's standards are too high, right? So what does that mean? The 3 6s, 666, evil, right? The 3 6s, six-pack abs, 6 feet tall, 6-figure income. Actually, it's 4 6s, right? And then 6 inches downstairs, right? This is most women's. That's like bottom line standards. Some women have hundreds of standards. Some women have insane lists that they want from men. But bottom line, you need to check off those boxes for the most part. Now, does this mean that that's what it's going to be every single time? No, of course not, right? No, there's going to be exceptions. But just know that if you don't meet that bottom line minimum standard, in her mind, she's going to be settling, because she's going to be like, oh, you know what? I could have got a guy who was taller. I could have got a guy who was better looking. I could have got a guy who had better abs or had 6 figures, made more money. So this is how women, this is hypergamy. This is how women calculate a man's worth, is by this outward stuff. Whereas with men, all we want is, hey, just be pretty, in decent shape, don't be overweight, and have a decent personality, have a decent character and attitude. That's it. The standard is actually super low for men. For women, actually, or I don't know how to phrase that. When it comes to what men want, the standard is very low. When it comes to what women want, the standard is astronomical. I've heard women complaining that the opposite is true, and I just don't see it. I don't see that women have low standards at all. Okay, I don't see it. Occasionally, you'll see a woman with a lower than average guy, occasionally, but it's rare. And if they do, they're always complaining. Their friends are in her ear. Oh, you could do better than so and so. Women have the highest standards, particularly in the Western world. You would think that you would hope that the standard would just be, hey, I want a guy who's faithful to me. I want a guy who's a family man, I want a guy who wants to get married, and I want a guy who wants love. That would be idealistic, but no, it's not that. It's super hot, super rich, super famous and wealthy, right? Or you know, super well endowed. This is what turns women on. This is what women want, and it's all outward materialistic stuff. Whereas with a man, okay, yeah, it's outward materialistic that we want a pretty woman who's in shape, but we also want a woman who's feminine. We want a woman who is submissive to us. We want a woman who, you know, is a compliment to us, who's takes our, you know, follows our lead. You know, but we can't get that anymore because it's all about equality now. And what that means is that, oh, you know, we share, everything is shared, which really means there's going to be a lot of push and pull bullshit from her that you're going to have to deal with in the relationship, where she's subconsciously trying to rule, or she's subconsciously trying to get her way, because the female princess syndrome, particularly in the Western world, is prevalent, where we have these grown these grown children, these grown brats who want their way all the time. If you don't agree with what she wants to eat, she's going to pout. Or if you don't agree with what she wants to watch, she's going to pout, or she's going to use this. Women are all about power dynamic, particularly socially, all about social power dynamic. Men, we just want peace. We just want to abide. You know, the dude abides. That's what that's what men want. We just want to we want peace, because we have enough stress dealing with a 9-to-5. We have enough stress dealing with a world that is against men, and etc. We don't need that problem when we come home, right? So again, if you don't add up to those to her minimum materialistic outward standards, she's always going to think she can do better. Oh, this guy makes $60K a year. That's very low for me. I could meet a guy who makes $120K a year. She thinks that. So then why isn't she with that guy? She's not with that guy because that guy has better options than her. So women are always settling, and subconsciously, you know, and when I say women are always settling, it's because the standard and the assholes with motorcycles, man, they're so loud. I think they're cool. Anyway, the standards with women is so high that it's always going to be always going to be settling for you know in a woman's mind. Oh, I just love him, and you know, he's just perfect for me, and you know, so you're not going to be her hero. You're not going to win in that way. It's always going to be I could always do better. That's how she really feels. And this is hypergamy, and women are always thinking this. Women are always feeling this. You will have so what that means is you're going to have to. Here we go again. These fucking motorcycles. Oh no, he's taking off the other way. Okay, good. So what that means is subconsciously you're always going to have to impress her, right? You're going to have to perform. You're going to have to always be on the ball. And I remember 5-10 years ago, men used to do this. Men used to be like, be the best version of yourself and keep her guessing and never settle and never. There used to be this advice in the manosphere, you know, to men who are trying to improve themselves to continue to, you know, stay on your purpose, don't get lazy, and really what that means is that if you fall off, if you stop being in great shape, if you stop making money, if you stop progressing and advancing, then she's probably going to leave you. She's going to monkey branch off to somebody else. So what does that mean? So that means, oh, you got to perform and you got to be this dancing monkey to impress her hypergamy, right? So again, if you're not top dog, if you're not Leonardo DiCaprio out here banging women, which women find, the irony is when you really like dig deep into female psychology and female nature and what makes women tick, they're so attracted to a guy like Leonardo DiCaprio. You know, even though like when it comes to like you and when it comes to like settling down, they want, oh, I want the guy who's monogamous and I hate cheaters. And it's funny how women always claim that they hate cheaters, but they're crazy attracted to guys who have pre-selection. Pre-selection means that the guy is already sleeping with a bunch of other women. A bunch of other women already want him. That makes him 20, 50, 100,000 times more attractive than the average Joe who no girl wants, who's like hoping to get a date and barely can get it, right? You know, she's feeling like, oh man, nobody wants this guy. That's female nature, right? So in the back of her mind, she'll probably choose you for that very reason, because, oh, well, this guy, okay, you know, I can't get the Leonardo DiCaprio. I've chased those guys for 10 years. They don't want to settle down with me. And I've even heard Jordan Peterson in Manosphere Advice say, you know, be the kind of guy that many women want, but only choose one guy. Like, that's such idealism. And even if it was possible, it's like, would you really want that? Would you really want to only be with a woman because other women want her, or would you want a woman who wants you for who you really are? She loves you because you're special and you're unique. And I mean, that's idealistic and that's blue pill, but that's what you should want and that's what you should have. You shouldn't be out here working to impress and perform. And this is what's going to happen if you're not the best guy that she can get, which is why guys are always like, oh, be the best version of yourself, be the best guy she can get, woo, 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 because they're trying, whether they realize it or not, they're trying to play into that hypergamy. Which again, hypergamy is manipulation. I've said this before on my channel. Hypergamy is not love. Hypergamy is manipulation. Hypergamy is a selfish ambition, a selfish female ambition to live vicariously through a man's successes, and she wants to feel proud of her. It makes her feel like, oh, I chose the best guy, and woo woo woo. And it's like, then you wonder why these relationships end in divorces. 50% of divorces because he wasn't performing for the rest of his life. So you have to perform for the rest of your life if that's the case. If you could only get her because you're the best version of yourself, you're always going to have to be performing, and that's just bottom line. Whereas like the alpha guy, the Leonardo DiCaprio, he doesn't have to perform because he just already is famous. He already does have something that she wants, and that's called pre-selection. She's always going to jump into that guy and jump for that guy. Other women want this guy, so he's desirable. No, I want him because other women want him, and whereas you're the dude that she settled with. Again, you're always going to have to be performing. You're always going to be under a microscope. You're always going to be scrutinized by her friends and her family, and I've seen so many relationships that guys have to endure that because they can't get anything else. They're taking what they can get, and the woman's like, all right, I guess I'll settle for this guy. I had my fun. I went out and I messed around. Now I settle for this guy, and he better be on his P's and Q's. He better be on eggs, walking on eggshells on his tippy toes, all the time with me because I chose him and I didn't have to choose him, and he's lucky because no other girl wanted him. And women know that. Women can tell if other women want you. So that's a trap for a marriage. And this is modern women, because modern women are hypergamous, and again, they have so many options out there that their standards are so astronomical. But the funny thing is that their standards are actually wrong. Their standards are incorrect because they know that they can have sex with most guys. They know that they can have sex with even some of the highest caliber men, the most wealthy men, the most attractive men. They'll have sex with those women, but they won't settle down with those women. And this is where women get things skewed, is they confuse and combine or conflate sex with love and marriage. They think because guys want to have sex with me, that I'm super desirable and then I should have high standards. But it's not the same thing as guys wanting to marry me and settle down with me. And this is a sickness. It's part of the sickness. It's part of the skewed, sick, degenerate society, which says sex is all that matters. If you're sexy, that's what matters. And as long as you can go have sex, it's all about sex, right? Okay. So again, this is the modern woman. This is the standard. Her standards are going to be too high. You're always going to have to be living up to her standards. All right, that's number one. Number two, the second main reason why a man should not get married or should avoid being married is that you will be marrying used goods. And this is, the focus is on what men want here. It's what you should want. You should want a pure woman. You should want a moral woman. Men should want a woman who has a low body count. Why? Because an immoral woman is not going to have a good character. An immoral woman is not going to make a good partner. An immoral woman is less likely to be able to pair bond. An immoral woman is going to have a bad attitude, is going to have a privileged jaded, narcissistic attitude. She's probably a manipulator, because they learn to manipulate when women sleep around. They learn to manipulate. They learn how to lie. A cheater is a liar. A woman who manipulates and uses manipulation, selfish, narcissistic tactics to get what she wants is not a quality woman. You do not want that. You do not want to marry that. You do not want to marry a woman who's used goods. You do not want to marry a woman who's been around the block. You do not want to marry a woman who's been sexually immoral, because it's not serving you. It's not helping you in your heart, in your character as a man for you. And also, you do not want to settle down with a woman like that because you want quality kids. A woman like that is not going to raise quality kids. She's not going to be a good partner for you. She's not going to be a good example. She's not going to be a good example of a woman in general. So your children are going to grow up seeing a bad example for a mother, and they're going to take on her traits. They're going to learn to manipulate like her. They're going to have a jaded attitude like her. I've seen this, where a woman is promiscuous, she becomes a single mom, or even maybe not, she was promiscuous before she met the guy, and then they had kids. That's gonna pass down to the kids in one way or another. The kids often end up having a bad attitude. They end up being kind of jerky. They end up being bullies, or they end up being just like jaded or narcissistic. That's just how they naturally are, because that's how mommy is. And this is a big one. You don't want to settle down with used goods, and you don't want to marry a woman who's going to give you kids who are messed up. She has no moral compass. She has nothing to pass down to the kids of quality, because she lived her life before she met you. She lived her life promiscuously before she met you. She never built up a quality character. And on top of that, it's gross. It's gross to have a woman who, I was reading the other day, this woman who had about 100 body count, and she was bragging about it because she was trying to normalize it. This is kind of a new thing that women are trying to do. Oh, normalize, people are sexual. It's normal to be sexual, and let's normalize having a high body count. The reason why they do that, the reason why women attack you for saying I don't want to use goods, and they call you a misogynist, or they call you an incel, or they say no woman would ever want you, you're just mad because you can't get laid, woo woo, all this stuff. The reason why they try to do that is because they know deep down that sleeping around lowers their value. It lowers their market value, their sexual market value. It lowers their marriage and dating market value, because they know deep down that men naturally, we do not, in our biology, we do not want women who slept around, and guys who do have forsaken their own manhood. Guys who are okay with settling down are weak men. You're a beta male. You're a weak man if you want to be with a woman who's sucked on a bunch of dicks. I'm just gonna say it, right? Who's been out there blowing dudes in parking lots, who's been out there creeping around at 2 a.m., tramping around, and this guy in the next city, or this guy over here, this guy at that place. The stuff that they do, man, you wouldn't even. It's disgusting, man. It's disgusting. So you're gonna inherit that. You're gonna inherit her weird sexual past, and understand that. And I've heard guys, even traditional guys, and I'm not gonna name names, but I've heard guys, big famous guys, say things like, "Oh, her past is none of my business." No, her past is your business. 100% that's your business. Why? Because she's your future. So if her past doesn't come into play, you're a fool. Would you go and buy a car sight unseen? Oh, the car's past is none of my business, right? No, and I'm not saying women are just cars per se, but it's a decent analogy in the fact that you're now owning that car. How that car functions is based on how it was treated in the past. How your wife and your woman functions is how she was treated by men in the past. And you think these guys are out here treating these women nice? No, they're doing them dirty in so many different ways, and women like it. They like it. They like to be, what's the word, dominated and spit on and all this nasty stuff and talked down to and called names in bed, and like the stuff that goes on, man. And women like it. So, yeah, man. In 2023, they're all having sex. In 2023, they're all out here banging. They're all out here used goods. Whether her body count is 25 or it's 85, makes no difference. After 3 or 4 guys, it's a wrap. After 3 or 4 guys, it's over. That for me, that's my limit, and I can't see anybody having any, 3 or 4 guys. Nah, like after that, no, you're playing around. Because I could see 3 guys by the time they're 20, right, or 25. You date the first guy, it's all puppy love, kisses, and you probably don't even have sex. The second guy maybe was a little longer relationship, a year or 2. The third guy, and these are learning experiences. And then finally she meets you and you're like, okay, well, I've been with 2 or 3 other guys and they were learning experiences. We just dated around. I wasn't out there sleeping around at the clubs, blah, 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 blah. Right? I had a couple boyfriends and they didn't work out. And I learned from them and I grew as a person. Like, all right, that's my extent. That's my limit. I mean, I'm not out here saying, oh, she needs to be a virgin. Because let's be realistic. How many women out here are virgins? No. If you can get a woman who's got 2 or 3 past boyfriends and she slept with 2 of them, maybe 3, then like, okay, you're not doing too bad. That's not terrible. But if you got a woman out here got a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 body count, she played around, she's jaded. It's over by about the 5th or 6th one, 7th one. She's learning to manipulate. She's getting treated bad. Her emotions are starting to be warped. It's over, dude. And plus, you got to think of the nasty stuff that she's doing. So there you go. So that's what you inherit as a married guy. And it's like, this is a lot of guys are just settling for that. They're just like, okay, because they know, like, I can't fight that. Like, there's nothing I could do. These women are all used. I don't want to be single for the rest of my life. So I got to just adjust. I got to pivot. I got to be like, okay, well, I accept your past. I'm not one of those guys. And then they adjust the scenery. They adjust their attitude, and women are like, oh, okay. Right? And women are like, oh, this guy accepts me for my past, and that becomes more attractive, and then it becomes a selling point, and then really you're just selling your soul. You're selling your standards. You're lowering your standards. You're settling for her, and she's settling for you, and you still have to perform, and you still have to like impress her constantly, because those hypergamous standards don't go down just because she slept around. Right? And so this is why men are walking away in mass. Like, that's your best option. Either you settle for used goods, or it's like, if you look at it in the analogy of a used car, you're like, well, this has kind of got low mileage. The body damage is not too bad. It's got a clean interior. You got to do that in today's day and age. You have to, like, you got to settle, man, if that's what happens. But really, you want a new car. Really, people should be married. And again, idealistically, hey, if you're 20, she's 20, get married. You know what I mean? Like, and you really love each other. Now, of course, unfortunately, a lot of divorce happens that way. Oh, we were young and dumb. We should have never got married. I don't know what to say, because there's no answer to that. Because, okay, you're going to go out and you're going to get experience. What does that mean? It means a bunch of dicks. You're going to go out and you're going to get experience. What does that mean? It means a bunch of sleeping around. Like that's what that means. People don't get into relationships without having sex. And so you get a bunch of experience. Oh, I like this guy. It's like eventually you're just tramping around, right? So there you go. That's number 2, right? Number 1 is the standards are insane. Number 2 is she's used goods. So the standards are insane for a woman who's highly used, right? You're basically jumping through hoops for a highly used woman, right? Number 3, feminism. As a man, you are the enemy, because feminism is against men. Modern feminism is a female supremacy cult, and most women are modern feminists in some way, shape, or form. Most women are modern feminists in some way, shape, or form. It's what it is. So I gotta bounce out of here. Someone's pulling up. But as a man, you are the enemy. You are guilty before proven innocent, right? You are suspect as a man, because feminism is against men. Most women, if not all women, have some adherence to modern feminism. So she is going to put you under that scale. She's going to look at you, in a suspect way. She has latent modern feminist ideals, and that's going to come out. She's going to want to play victim. She's going to subconsciously probably try to set you up. I mean, if you actually go to some of these modern feminist websites, or some of these modern feminist social media pages, They're so just anti-man. Men are suspect. Men are the enemy. And so she's going to carry that attitude into the relationship. She's going to look for reasons to be the victim. She's going to look for reasons to call you an oppressor. She's going to have this subconscious, adverseness to the quote unquote patriarchy, right? The patriarchy is evil. Oh no, the patriarchy. And she's going to view you as a guy who's part of the patriarchy. She's going to view you as a guy who's the enemy, right? And so that's in some way, shape, or form, that is going to spill over into the relationship, right? As a man, you are the enemy in a modern feminist world. Modern feminism is against men. It tells women that they're victims, even though they're the opposite of victims. Modern women are the most privileged women in human history. So to insinuate that there's a concerted conspiracy, global conspiracy by men to oppress women is like the dumbest, it's the biggest, it's one of the biggest and one of the dumbest lies possible. Men just want to provide. Men just want to take care of women. Yes, men want leadership. Yes, men want to feel like they are the head of the household, they're the head of the family, but that's because they're the ones who are on the chopping block. They're the ones who are doing the providing and the protecting, and all women expect you to provide. It's part of it. It's part of her nature. She expects you to be a breadwinner. I don't care how much brainwashing, how much social engineering is going on that says, oh, women are equal to men, woo, woo, woo. No, it goes against her nature, okay? Her nature says, I want a man who can take care of me. I want a man who can provide for me. And if you can't do that, subconsciously, she doesn't want you. Subconsciously, she's turned off. This is how women are wired. Men are not wired that way. Men don't care at all whether she works at a movie theater or whether she's a governor. We don't care. In fact, we're more turned off the higher ranking she is. Like, it turns me off when a woman is like, I'm a successful business owner. Like, that turns me off. Like I don't want to compete with that. I feel like I'm gonna have to compete with you. I feel like you're going to be holding me to your standards, or like your standards are, of success. And it's like, I don't want to have to try to compete with my woman. I just want harmony. So a man wants to work. He wants to provide for his family. And if he can't do that, if he can't work and provide for his family, then he is going to feel less than. He is going to feel like he doesn't matter that much. Right? And modern women are in in competition with men. She's competing with you. She is going to try to, they're all competing with men. It's part of it. They're all competing with men. Men are the enemy in the modern world. So what are they trying to do? They're trying to outcompete, they're trying to out-earn men. They're trying to outsmart men. This is all going on. They're not outwardly out here saying, yeah, we're competing with, well, some of them are, but they're trying to out-educate themselves, out-educate men, right? Lift themselves up in an educational way, right? And this kills the role of a male in a relationship. It's really just two women. When a man is equal or less to her earnings, or equal to less to her career, he feels like, hey, I'm not as much of a man, right? And so you could call that the patriarchy, but really that's just a man wanting to provide. And women used to love that. Women used to be like, man, I like that I like that a man wants to provide for me. I can be a woman. I can be a stay-at-home mom and take care of these kids. And then you had good quality kids who were adjusted, who had good lives, who were happy, right? But now mommy's got to go to work, right? Mommy goes to work, daddy goes to work because she doesn't want to bum. Stay-at-home dads aren't really a thing, even though they technically are. But for the most part, women don't want stay-at-home dads. No, it's double income now because female nature is still female nature. The guy's still he's not going to stay home and raise kids. That's too feminine. Women aren't attracted to that, right? So he's got to go into the workforce. And what's that mean? That means nobody's home raising little Timmy. So who raises little Timmy? Satan, right? Who raises little Timmy? The world. Who raises little Timmy? MTV. Who raises little Timmy? Social media, video games. That's who raises little Timmy, right? It ain't the parents. They're too tired. They come home from work 8 hours a day, tired. I don't got time for Timmy. So Timmy grows up messed up because his parents are not caring for him, right? So this is what modern feminism does, is it turns women into men, and this is the subtlety of Satan. This is the subtlety of the evil forces out there. This is the subtlety of the social engineers. They always package something very insidious, very evil, in a good, nice package with a nice little ribbon that says equality. Oh, anti-bigotry. We're against hate. We're against, we're against inequality, right? When in reality, they're peddling something that's damaging, peddling something that's immoral, peddling something that's degenerate. They're peddling something that is going to ruin the family unit. They're peddling something that is going to damage relationships, right? This is modern feminism. So what happens when both the man and the woman are working? They're either in competition with each other, or she feels like, oh, I can do better than you. I'm as smart as you. I'm as qualified as you. And so what happens? Divorce, right? Fighting, or she's cheating. She feels like, well, this guy makes $50,000 a year. John over here, my account manager at my work or whatever, he makes $120K a year. He's more attractive. I'm going to cheat, right? This is hypergamy. She can't just be a stay-at-home mom. What happens if she's staying at home? She doesn't have the time or the opportunity to cheat because she's not out here in the workforce dressing nice, dressing sexy. Because women will do that. If they're outside, they're going to put makeup on. If they're outside, they're going to put on tight-fitting clothes. That's a temptation for modern women. If they're in the home, if they're taking care of the kids, if they're cooking, if they're cleaning, they don't have time for all that. They don't have time to cheat. They don't have time or the opportunity to be out here dressing nice, wearing makeup. It plays into female narcissism. Anytime they go out to the store or whatever, they want to be looked at. Look at Ayesha Curry, Steph Curry's wife, the famous basketball player Steph Curry. She felt like at a certain point she was depressed because men were no longer oogling her anymore. Men were no longer lusting after her anymore. And so she felt depressed. This is a famous thing that happened maybe, 5 years ago, something like that. She was all super upset because guys weren't hitting on her anymore. And this is a married woman to one of the top 1% of men in history. One of the highest earning basketball players, one of the best basketball players of all time. She's depressed because regular Joes aren't lusting after her. This is female nature. It's that narcissism. They want to be out here. And hey, objectively speaking, I could say that, yeah, it'd be nice to be lusted after by the opposite sex. It'd be nice. And so, and that's something that women take for granted. They don't realize that that's not happening for most men, right? That's not happening for most men. And that's a problem that a guy will inherit if he marries a very attractive woman. Guys are going to lust after her, and women know it. Women are not stupid. Women are not dumb, right? Women are not out here not realizing, oh, guys want to have sex with me. I would have never known. Like, they can tell by the way you look at her. They can tell, and they want that. They want that validation. They want that extra look. They want that look of lust from men. And they're not attracted to most men. So most men don't get it. Most men don't get that look of lust from most women. Tall guys do, very in shape, muscular guys do, very attractive guys do, rich, wealthy guys do, but most guys don't fall into that category. Most guys, struggle. Most guys, so, whereas I think it's the opposite for most women, because the standard is so high for women, for men, whereas women, it's like, relatively attractive woman will get a lot of attention, and which is another reason it's all skewed. This is the modern woman. The dating sites are insane. Like, you got 3 or 4 out of 10s out here acting like they're 10 out of 10s, acting like they deserve a rich famous guy because dudes just want to have sex with them, and it's just like, it's bonkers. So again, feminism. So that's the number 3. So that's number 3. Okay. Number 4 is divorce. So let's do a little recap. Number 1 is modern women's standards are too high, right? You're gonna have to settle for her. She's gonna have to settle for you, and you're gonna have to settle for her in a way, right? Number 2 is you will be marrying used goods. That's you settling for her, even though she thinks that she's settling for you because she can always do better than you, blah, blah, blah. This little narrative that she has in her head. Number 4 is, as a man, you are the enemy. She's a feminist. Most women are feminists. You're gonna have to be competing with her. She doesn't want to do housework. She doesn't want to be a traditional woman at all. She wants to be a modern woman who's earning money and a boss bitch and all this stuff. She doesn't want to be your helpmeet. She doesn't want to be your complement. She doesn't want to really assist you and love you in that way, because modern feminism has attacked that. It's damaged it. And if you don't believe me, go to any modern feminist page and listen to and read, on social media, and read the propaganda, read the damaging psychological social engineering that is spoken from there. So the last one is divorce. The 4th reason why men should avoid marriage is divorce. Okay, divorce. It will take your money, it will take your soul, it will ruin your life. Okay, I've been through breakups that felt like divorces. Okay, several actually, and I was never married to this woman. I never had the honeymoon. I never had the sweet nothings. I just created a bond. I had a relationship for a couple years with a couple different women, and there was a bond there. There was a bad breakup, and that's how I learned female nature. That's how I learned about hypergamy. That's how I learned about monkey branching and how women cheat, etc. Because it all happened to me, right? And that wasn't even a marriage. So imagine a divorce. Imagine how much more intensified it is when a man gets divorced, because this is the woman he chose to be with for the rest of his life. This is the one he said, "You're the one. I want to be with you and only you. You're it for me. I love you." Got on his knee, with a ring, proposed, the whole 9. Met her family. You came to the marriage, and their family approved, etc. All these things that are supposed to solidify the marriage, that are supposed to make the marriage more glamorous. Or glamorous is not the right word. Make the marriage more solid. Just this is we've made this commitment. Our families are in on it. We love each other, and then there's a divorce, right? It will not only ruin you financially. A lot of men are all worried about, the financial divorce, the financial. What about the psychological? What about the emotional? To think that men don't go through emotions, or men don't go through sadness or depression is very foolish. You have to take that into account. You have to take in your own emotions. You have to take in your own psychology. How is that going to damage you psychologically? I've been in relationships where I was only in the relationship for 3 years, and it took me 7-8 years to get over a 3-year relationship. And you could be like, oh well, you're weak. Maybe that's just me. That's just my personal. I know some men who've never gotten over certain relationships. They've never gotten over a bad breakup, right? Men, part of it is most men are living in scarcity mode. They're not in abundance mode. They don't have an abundance of women and abundance of options. The reason why a lot of women can get over a bad breakup so easily is because they just jump to the next guy. There's already a guy waiting and monkey branching. It's easy for them to go find a new guy. Whereas for a man, most average men, it's very difficult, very hard, right? So what's that mean? It means that you're going to go through many years of probably emotional and psychological depression and damage and trauma, depending on how bad the divorce is, depending on how bad the breakup is. Something you got to consider. 50% of all marriages end in divorce. Top 3 reasons are cheating,
finances and irreconcilable differences. So what does that mean? It means somebody's going to get cheated on. It means somebody's going to have a disagreement. There's going to be big, major problems in the event of a divorce, or you don't make enough money, financial. What does that mean? Financial means you're struggling. If financial is the reason, it's not because you make too much money. It's because you don't make enough money is the reason why financial-based divorces happen. You don't make enough money, right? And who's not making enough money? It's the man. It's not the woman, because the woman doesn't have to make money in a relationship. That's not part of her social norm. That's not part of her expected social requirements, social standards. But for a man, it is. He's supposed to be the breadwinner. That's his job. It's subconscious, it's psychological, it's cultural. Even despite the whole feminist thing, even despite, you can't use that card. You can't say, oh, you're a woman, you can go make the money. You can't do that because you're going against her nature. Her biology says the man needs to be the provider. Culture says the man needs to be the provider. You can't go against that. If you do, then you'll be a bum. She'll tell her friend, oh, he doesn't want to make more money. He doesn't deserve me. You deserve a guy who makes $150K a year, not a guy who makes $50K a year, right? Financial means you're struggling, right? Those are the top 3 reasons of divorce. They've been the top 3 reasons of divorce: infidelity, cheating, financial reasons, not making enough money, reconcilable differences. You guys can't get along. You argue, right? Why are you arguing? Probably over money. Why are you arguing? Probably because she thinks that she can do better than you. Why are you arguing? Because she's damaged. Because when you met her, she was promiscuous. Before you guys got married, she was a narcissist. She didn't feel like she had to do anything or bring anything to the table. She didn't feel like she had to be moral or work on her character. So what happens? All that comes over into the relationship. All of that bad behavior is transferred into the relationship. And guess what? There's irreconcilable differences. You can't get along because she has to be right. She has to win every argument. She starts arguments. She's doesn't like how you do this. She's controlling. She's bossy. It's usually never the other way around. Why? Because men want peace. Men just want peace. We want a clean home. Now, if he's arguing because he went to work all day and you didn't wash the dishes, he's got a point. He's working 8 hours a day. The least you can do is wash the dishes. The least you can do is mop the floor, have the laundry done, make the bed. That's the least you can do if he's the breadwinner. Now, if you're both working, all right, there needs to be some kind of sharing of housework, house duties. Fine. But anyway, so divorce, terrible. That's the number 4 reason. You have to consider that. If you're going to get married, you have to consider, hey, there's a possibility this won't work out. What's my exit plan? How am I going to deal with this? How am I going to psychologically and emotionally get over a divorce? Do I have a support system set up? Do I have backup plans? Do I have other options? You have to consider that. You'd be a foolish person to walk into a commitment, that type of agreement, that type of on paper as well, with the government. You'd have to be very foolish to not consider the possibility of it not working out, right? Which is why it's probably better not to sign those papers. It's probably better not to settle down, not to have her move in, and have a long-term relationship where you're not living together. Because once she moves in, even if you don't sign those papers, once she moves in, once she's on the lease, in a lot of states, you're screwed financially. In a lot of states, she could still take half your stuff. She could still argue and say, oh, he made all this money, and, I want it, right? So you have to be foolish not to consider divorce. It's a part of life. It's a part of relationships. It's a part of marriage. 50%, maybe higher. Women are initiating 80% of divorces. What does that mean? It means her standards matter. It means she's the one who's enforcing your behavior. You're gonna have to perform for her. You're gonna have to always impress her. Do you want that? These are the reasons why men are walking away. Now, what's the alternative? Be lonely, be a MGTOW, right? Okay, well, maybe, but is it worth it? People lose 10 years of their life in a bad relationship. Seriously, you will lose 10 years of your life in a bad relationship. Easy. it can now it depends on you, it depends on your experience, it depends on how educated you are. If you are less educated, if you are, less vulnerable, or excuse me, more vulnerable, then yeah, you could lose easily 10 years of your life to a bad marriage, to a bad relationship. It's something to consider. Now, idealistically, I would like everybody to get married. Idealistically, I would like true love. Fine, great, right? Idealistically, but you need standards as a man, right? You don't want used goods. You don't want a feminist. You want a quality woman. Where's that woman? Is she out here? I don't know. I don't know. So it's a lot to consider. But I'm gonna leave it there, guys. Hope y'all are staying cool, having a good summer. And as always, peace, prosperity, wealth, and happiness to y'all. It's been Jason J. Lee, Northwest Podcast. Peace.